Scott Jennings actually thought it was an interesting choice to have the Vice President, the Secretary of State, the Secretary of Defense with the President last night when he addressed the country. Typically in these moments, or often in these moments, it's only the President. But obviously, the Vice President has been out there trying to give some credibility with the MAGA base. We know that J.D. Vance is very much a skeptic of foreign intervention for President Trump in this decision-making. What do you make of what he said?
Well, I think it was important for them all to be out there to show absolute unity and resolve across the entire government, and that's what they were doing. So that was a good public relations move. I mean, the fact is we have a strong president, a decisive president, and the most lethal military in the world, and there's a huge difference between what's going on in Iran right now and what happened in Iraq over 20 years ago. So I think having J.D. Vance out is great. I think having Marco Rubio out is great. I think the president bringing his whole national security team out and showing that, the entire government here was operating in lockstep with great precision, great resolve, and the execution of this was flawless. It ought to give the American people, a lot of confidence in the competence in our government right now as compared to what we had in previous administration.
He had come out late last week and said that he would decide within 2 weeks. And then we saw events unfold very quickly from there. What can you help us understand about the president's decision-making process here? Because certainly, I think there are many in MAGA world who may have been surprised that he did this. But tell us what you know.
Why would you be surprised? I mean, Donald Trump has been clear-eyed and full of resolve about the Iranian threat for 20 years. He has always said you can't have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon. And I would also say that my observations of him over the last few months are that things are running quite smoothly over in the White House and at the Pentagon. Look what happened. The deception that was involved here, no leaks, the resolve, the precision, execution. We have a commander-in-chief right now who is decisive and who knows how to operate a government and operate a military operation with absolute precision. The level of deterrence that this will put throughout the world that our enemies should be perceiving is very, very high. This is a great day for this president, and it's a great day for the world because he's making us safe for Western civilization.
Well, I think there are a lot of questions here. First of all, why did Trump, the whole reason why we're in this situation is because he withdrew from the nuclear deal in the first place. And now he's trying to bring Iran back to the table, and they wouldn't do that, and so he decided to move forward with these strikes. But this was his doing in the first place. Obama had a deal. He withdrew from it. He withdrew from the deal, and now he's trying to get back into something very, very similar. The second piece of this is I think there's two real questions about where are we going next. Whether or not this is going to lead into a war, and whether or not, and Iran has already indicated that they do plan on retaliating, and Trump has said and threatened that he will then escalate as well. And I think the third question is a legal part of this, which is whether this was constitutional and whether or not they needed approval from Congress.
This, of course, is splitting both parties. We touched on yours, Scott, but Sochi, Congressman Josh Gottheimer posted this on X. He says this, quote, "Tonight, the United States took critical and decisive action to protect America. This is not a Democratic or Republican issue. Dealing with the Iranian threat is central to America's national security. The world is safer because of the actions of our brave service members." How widespread do you think the sentiment is going to be? I mean, historically, there's been a lot of support for Israel in the Democratic Party. Absolutely. That has been, quite different since in recent months. But how far do you think that goes?
So I think that there are a lot of questions that are being raised by Congress right now. And the reason that they're being raised is because normally you would need congressional approval for something like this. And I know that my friend here is laughing a little bit, but I will say,
I've covered Congress for a long time, but they gave a lot of that away.
But I will say, in order for the president to take action without congressional approval, he needed to show that there was a real true threat to the United States and that the strike would not cause escalation. The problem with this is that normally you would have a group of lawyers from all across the agencies that actually would make these determinations. Trump did away with that at the beginning of this administration. So it's unclear what type of legal advice Trump was getting. The Department of Defense usually puts out a statement and says what the legality is of any strike that the president is taking without congressional action. Here, we have not heard from DOD what is happening there. So what will be critical in the weeks to come is Congress must see the underlying intelligence about how they were in direct threat and how the U.S. needed to respond without congressional approval. But as of right now, I have not seen that.
You're arguing that after 46 years of the Iranian regime killing Americans, threatening Americans, saying over and over and over again, death to America, that maybe they were just didn't mean it, that they're fiery but mostly peaceful Iranian butchers? I mean, I don't understand.
Hold on.
This is a righteous strike.
But what you have to
And also, I just want to point out that there was a poll that came out this week that said 60% of Americans thought the U.S. should not get involved in this conflict, and 53% of Republicans said that they do not want the U.S. to join Israel in this war. I will say that the president, during his inauguration speech, promised to be a peacemaker. He essentially said that we should not be getting into wars. He pointed that out in his speech, and he has been very, very clear that he wanted to end conflicts in Ukraine and would overall not get into unnecessary wars. And so I think the risk that Donald Trump certainly has here, and the implications of this, is that they do escalate, they do attack Americans abroad, and that we end up seeing a back and forth and war moving forward.
This is not an escalation. This is a de-escalation.
Well, Trump promised escalation.
This is not
Trump promised escalation.
Ever Iranian bunker busting bombs is not an escalation.
Because she said President Trump promised us peace. I ask you, can we have peace if Iran has a nuclear weapon?
Well, we had a deal, and
you're litigating the past.
I'm not litigating the past.
Can we have peace if they have a nuclear weapon?
We had a deal. He's trying to get back into that deal. And he withdrew from that.
They were violating
and not only that, now he's trying to have another deal.
Bribery and appeasement does not work with terrorism.
Let me hold on for one second. I just want to kind of draw this conversation back and ask a big picture one, because I think it's something that a lot of Americans are asking. Is America at war with Iran right now, Scott?
No, we're not. We had a precision military strike to keep them from getting nuclear weapons. We're at war with a terrorist regime having nuclear weapons, but not with the Iranian people, who, by the way, should take this opportunity to throw these butchers out, in my opinion.
Yes or no?
I do, and the president has said, he's made that clear, and he's also said that we would escalate if they potentially strike U.S. embassies or anything like that, and I believe that they have said that they will.
Rebecca?